Hi everybody, Dan Ilman and Matt Bernier. Race number 10 at Del Mar on Saturday is the Grade 2 John C. Mabee Stakes for fillies and mares going 1 1/8 miles. It's a race, it's a card. You can play with a DRF Bets account. Sign up now, get 10 times the bonus. DRF.com/bet. Here's the field for the John C. Mabee, and it is a big, full field. You've got the speed of Fahan Moura, the class of Cambodia, and you've got a razor-sharp runner in the number 9 Basilica going out for Jerry Hollendorfer. All this filly has done, she's won 5 in a row, she's won 7 of her last 8, and now she gets the old acid test.
Well, and I guess that's kind of the way that I look at Basilica, and I don't mean this in a negative light. I love her. I think she's rock solid. She shows up. She runs her race each and every time. What has she done other than win 5 races in a row that makes her deserving of 7-2 on the morning line, or 4-1, or whatever her morning line is? I mean, to me, it just seems like a terrible underlay. Well,
she is going to be stepping up for the first time, but as we've always said, sometimes in these filly and mare graded stakes races in Southern California, we want the fresh face. We've seen these horses bang heads, the Madam Stripes, the Sophie P's, the Midnight Crossings, the et ceteras. Maybe this is the fresh face stepping up in class for Jerry Hollendorfer. I do tend to agree that the 7-2 on the morning line is a little bit light. There's one thing that we're pretty sure of, and that's Fahan Moura is going to be making the pace in here. Timeform US, not surprisingly, agrees with us. Timeform US, not surprisingly, has a red bar, because when Fahan Moura runs, it doesn't matter the distance. She's going to go early and she's going to go fast. The question is she this good?
You know what? I don't think she is, but at the same time, how can I sit here and say that with a straight face? Because she really feels like that sort of typical thing that we've seen. Take an East Coast horse, a decent one, move him out to the West Coast, and look, all of a sudden, bang, she just starts ripping off victory after victory. And her only loss recently was when they sent her back out to the East Coast and against Sister Charlie. And I'm not going to hold that against her. The speed is always going to be dangerous. She's going to try to bottom this field out. The difference this time around, though, I think, she's probably going to have a little bit of company up there. I guess if you really want to try to spread eagle this field, I think she's going to have to be throwing down some legitimate fractions, and I don't know that that's going to work come that final 1/8 of a mile in here.
And she'll have to do it at 1 1/8 miles. Last time out in the Oceanitas, 1 1/16 miles. Great ride from Edwin Maldonado. Conserved the energy and then made that early move, sort of that Highland Reel Breeders' Cup turf move to open it up, and she just pretty much overwhelmed those horses. One of those horses she overwhelmed was a Chira going out for John Sheriff. So I thought Gary Stevens gave her a beautiful ride in that race. He realized that Fahan Moura was trying to get away. So what he did was he ducked down to the inside into the pocket to follow Fahan Moura into the stretch. He gave a Chira every chance to win. She improved her buyer by a long way. She just wasn't good enough. But it's the 3rd start of the form cycle and stretching out to a distance where she's been okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like this extra 1/16 of a mile is going to be to her benefit, whereas maybe some of these other girls, it's not going to be to their liking. At the end of the day, I think she's probably a little bit on the cheap side, but if you think that she's still relatively lightly raced, she's only gone out 8 times, and you brought it up, 3rd start off of the bench, maybe you're going to get a career best effort here, and again, maybe that distance is the great equalizer.
Midnight Crossing was 3rd behind Fahan Moura in that Oceanitas Stakes. She is a graded stakes winner. She won the Bobby Frankel in her first start on the West Coast, and now she's become one of the girls, so to speak. She runs the same kind of race, high 80s, low 90s, and recently it hasn't been good enough to get it done. She needs some pace, even though her big win came in gate-to-wire fashion.
I was going to say, she's at her best when she's forwardly placed. The problem is she needs to be forwardly placed when they're walking out there on the front end, and that's just simply not going to happen in this race on Saturday. I think she's up against it, trying to come from off of the pace.
The horse to beat is the defending champion of this race. That's the number 7 and morning line favorite, Cambodia. She just loves Del Mar, and Tom Proctor got a little bit ambitious to kick off 2018. He ran her in the Grade 1 Jenny Wiley against Sister Charlie. He ran her in the Grade 1 Just a Game against the Raving Beauty. And as we've said, those East Coast fillies and mares, a little bit better than the ones here on the left coast. She returned to Del Mar last time out in the Yellow Ribbon, and I thought it was just a really solid professional run. She beat 4 of these common foes, and she has enough tactical speed to stay within range.
She was never a loser in that Yellow Ribbon. She was out in the clear basically throughout. Drayden Van Dyke never looked like he had a concern in the world, and when he tells her to go, she goes and absolutely buries that field. That Yellow Ribbon is just basically an example of Southern California fillies and mares on turf for the past 3 or 4 years, where if you take Cambodia out of the equation, you had about 7 horses across the wire. Throw them up, they'll come down in a different order each and every time. You put a horse like Cambodia in, she's head and shoulders better than everyone else.
Madame Stripes, the number 11, finished second to Cambodia in that yellow ribbon, part of that blanket runner-up, photo. I thought it was a decent effort considering it was her first race since May, and the prior start going 1 mile and an eighth in the Grade 1 Gamely. Madame Stripes ran a really good third while on the lead. Now, she's not making the lead here, but if Fahan Moura doesn't see out this distance, maybe there's a chance Madame Stripes inherits this at some point.
Yeah, I liked her in that yellow ribbon, and I don't think she ran poorly, like you say, especially off that layoff. The thing that concerned me the most was that she was so late to change leads. That was not something that I'm used to seeing from her, and it makes me wonder here. She's 6 years old, and really, I know she's run some mid-90 buyers in the past. It feels like over the past year and change, she's been living in that low 90 range if she even cracks 90, and simply put, I just don't think that's fast enough to win.
How about the 2 Sophie P as a price play, getting back to 1 mile and an eighth? She won the Gamely at that distance 3 starts back. Third in the yellow ribbon last time out, was not a bad effort at all. Kent DeZormo had an opportunity, I'm sure, to ride for his brother in a Grade 1 stakes race at Saratoga on Saturday. Instead, he stays here to ride for Jim Cassidy.
Yeah, if the pace really heats up, I think Sophie P can come with a bid. I don't think she ran poorly in that yellow ribbon. And I do think this mile and an eighth might actually be a little bit more to her liking than opposed to some of the other girls.
I think Storm the Hill's one of those other girls that maybe might find 1 mile and an eighth a little bit too taxing. Winner of the Wilshire, 2 starts back in a flat mile in her first race back on the West Coast in a long time. Her yellow ribbon again was okay, but she was part of that scrum for second.
Yeah, she carried a little bit of ground in that race, so I suppose you can be a little bit kind and forgiving for that. But at the end of the day, I think she's better at probably a flat mile. This 9 furlong distance, to me, I don't like her at all at it. And truth be told, I actually like her going considerably shorter. I'd like to see them get her ready to sprint going back to Santa Anita.
Cordiality, the 6 beat Calbred Stakes horses in 2 out of her last 3 races. No match for Storm the Hill, 2 starts back in the Solana Beach most recently. Just got a great trip under Tyler Bays, stalking moderate fractions, taking over and kicking away from overmatched horses. She's going to be chasing a much faster pace and perhaps a more talented rival than the one she was chasing last time in Fahan Moura at a longer distance.
I love Cordiality. I've been a big fan of hers, and really I look at Cordiality and Basilica in very similar sort of fashions where they're very talented horses. I've never really viewed them as this. And then also the thing for Cordiality anyway that I'm a little bit concerned about, this distance, I'm not totally convinced that 9 furlongs is her friend, where, at least with Basilica, I don't think it's going to be too much of a stretch. With Cordiality, I feel like she's really at her best in this sort of flat mile distance.
I think Chicaboo was up against it in the Solana Beach that Cordiality ran. There was no pace up front. She was trying to come from mid-pack, and she ran her usual race. She has not won a race in over 2 years now, and she has sort of settled in the mid to low 80s from a buyer standpoint. That's not going to do it in here, and I like this filly.
Yeah, she's run second or third 10 times from 21 lifetime starts. To me, she's the kind of horse, if you're going to use her in third or fourth in exotics.
The Tulip blossomed last time out at Santa Rosa. It was a really nice performance coming from off the pace, and Psycho Sister, the runner-up, came right back to win an allowance with an 89 buyer speed figure. This is a mare that is hoping that Fahan Moura sets a speed record early, because she'll be lingering near the back of the pack, if not outright last early.
Another horse that I like. I think the Tulip has a little bit of ability. I just have never thought of her as this kind of horse, and that's saying something because I'm talking about the Southern California fillies and mares on turf.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 2 John C. Mabee. 20-1 shot on the morning line for Matt. You've scored already with Meal Ticket. She's already been your meal ticket as an out-of-the-gate best bet. She's won 3 out of her last 4 starts. And again, we talk about the fresh face. First time up against stakes competition. She draws a nice post. Why can't she work out kind of a pace-tracking, ground-saving trip here?
That's kind of what I'm hopeful for in here. Matt Chu, I think, does a very good job, underrated as far as connections are concerned. I know Tyler Bays stays aboard Cordiality, but you get Joe Talamo, so you don't lose it too much there. I think this is an instance where that most recent run, I'm always looking for horses that finish. Now, she's run 2 times at Del Mar. She has a victory and a second-place finish. And the thing that I like the most, she came home in 28.77, and as opposed to some of the other girls in this race, not a ton of them have some legitimate late turns of foot. Meal Ticket, I wonder if it's just a matter of she's finally starting to mature. Now she's 4 years old. She's gone out 11 times. I think she's in raging form. If you're looking for an upsetter, I think Cambodia is obviously the horse to beat. I think she's probably going to win the race, if I'm being honest. But Meal Ticket to me is that kind of horse. Maybe she can't win the race. I'll bet her to win. But maybe she can't win, but she can certainly run second against this group. I would take my shot with her every day at 20-1, even at 15-1 or even less than that. I think she has some ability.
I think you're right on the mark. If not for the significant trouble that you pointed out on Out of the Gate a few weeks ago, this horse would be coming into this race off a 4-race win streak. She was the best horse 2 starts back. Give me numbers. You're betting this horse to win. I'm assuming Cambodia is your second pick.
Yeah, 1795 for me. Really, it's probably a win bet on Meal Ticket, and then I'll just back it up with an exactive Cambodia over Meal Ticket.
7581 for me. I just think Cambodia loves Del Mar, and this is the kind of class of competition that she likes. 5-2 on the morning line. I'm sure she's going to go down short of that. If you get the 5-2, though, or even 2-1, you could argue its value. She's already beaten most of these horses in the past, and again, she loves Del Mar. It's the John C. Mabee Stakes. It's the co-feature at Del Mar on Saturday. You can play that card with a new DRF Bets account and 10 times the sign-up bonus that comes along with it. Bet 20, get 200. DRF.com/bet is where you need to go. An approximate post time for the John C. Mabee. 6:30 Pacific. Good luck.